G'day guys, sorry for the clutter. This is a bit of an impromptu video, so I do apologise if it's a bit rough. But I just thought I'd do a little bit of a, because I've obviously done it here. I thought I would just do a quick mention of how I save a little bit of money when I feed my dogs. I will preface by saying this, I do have a lot of dogs. I do have 40 dogs. I live in rural New South Wales, Australia. I am allowed to have this many dogs. They're all registered, microchipped, vaccinated, vetted. I'm not a puppy farm. I have to be producing puppies to have a puppy farm. A substantial number of puppies. I do breed occasionally beagles, but I've had like 4 litters in 10 years, 12 years. So yeah, I'm not, that's all. And I've had 1 litter of stag hounds. I have plenty of dogs here who've come from other people who have nowhere else to go. So a good chunk of my dogs is just from that. So what I've done here is, obviously you've got boiled eggs, and then there's some toppings on the kibble. Some of the dogs do have raw as their base rather than kibble. That's just to target specific issues with those dogs. One of them is on a fish-based skin and coat formulation. One of them's on a weight gain formulation, and one of them's on a weight loss formulation. And all the additives have been added within the parameters of what their requirements are for the day. Kibble-wise, I do have my last litter of beagle puppies, who are now coming up to 8 months old, my Dachshund puppy who's just 8 months old, my Whippet puppy who's 9 months old. They all have their puppy kibble base. They get a full kibble base ration, their normal ration, and then I just top it with extra because they will eat everything. They are bottomless. They are growing puppies. But this is just a way to save a bit of money. Is for the adult dogs, I've reduced their kibble ration. Some only by like a quarter, some by half, depending on the topping, and the amount of topping. And all I've done is I just went through my freezer, and I had some leftovers that had been frozen for quite a long time that they were looking a bit freezer burnt, a bit dehydrated. Perfectly edible, really. I could have eaten them, but instead I've chose to use them for the dogs because I know we won't end up eating them. Like, I'll serve them up and everyone will just pull a face. So they're just old meals. One of them's a lamb and vegetable stew, and one of them's a bolognese sauce. So they've got meat, veggies, fats and oils, all that sort of stuff all through it. Some have also got a little bit of fried rice lentil mix that I did for meal preps. One of the containers was cracked and it went all developed a skin across the top, so I've just divided that between some of them. And then obviously you can see the boiled egg, either a half or a quarter, depending on the dog. And some of the older dogs have got salmon belly pieces, just because I need to use them up. They're actually dog food, not human leftovers. So this is something you can do. Some people will be like, why only some dogs on raw? Raw is hard, expensive and labour intensive. I feed plenty of prey items, like I'll give raw on the side with their kibble or aside from their kibble. Like, they have at least 1 day a week where they just get a full raw meal, and it's usually just carcass pieces or meaty bones. They'll get offal chopped up, fat chopped up, meat, heart, that sort of stuff, chopped up and scattered throughout their dishes throughout the week on the day-to-day anyways. So they always get a little bit of a kibble top dress, a raw top dress to their kibble, but today I'm just using the cooked leftovers. Also, someone's going to be like, why don't you use raw eggs? I have used done boiled eggs because I need to use the eggs up, and I did a whole batch of boiled eggs for us as well. And the dogs quite like the boiled eggs over the raw eggs. Yes, they'll eat raw eggs, but they'll crunch through the shell, and the boiled eggs are a bit more subsistence than a raw egg. It makes them feel like they've got a bit more value in their meal, if that makes sense, because it's sort of like it's almost solid versus a liquid. But yeah, These guys all get water added to them. Oh, a couple of dogs have got dried oatmeal added for fibre, for anal gland relief, because a couple of them have got stinky bums. Doesn't happen very often, but usually if I smell anal gland ick, I'll just give the suspects a dose of dry oatmeal, and it fixes it. Presto. Anyways, so yeah, and yes, the boiled eggs also have shell on, because these dogs will just smash through that and love it. So, also, why don't I cook in bulk for the dogs? It's cheaper. Yes and no. Again, it's labour intensive. You have to remember I've got 40 dogs to make sure and I do have young dogs or older dogs. Like my oldest dog is 16. And her preference is for cooked food nowadays. She doesn't really like eating raw. So she will get a cooked ration more often than not, particularly topped over her kibble. But as a whole, with 40 dogs, it's just not practical. Also, if I have a bad day where I'm sick, injured, or for whatever reason I'm not the one feeding the dogs, kibble is easier for my husband, or if I've got a friend or someone. There is a layout of who gets what and how much. Puppies get their kibble, the adults get their kibble, and the measurements is there for them. So they can just dump the food in the bowl, add water, feed, and the dogs are done. So yeah, but you can do stuff like this to stretch $1. I wouldn't make it a full diet all the time. As a top of the cut throughout the week, no worries. Just remember, if you do this, reduce their kibble. You don't need to make fat dogs. Fat dogs do anybody favors. They might look cute, but you're causing issues for yourself and for them. No one wants to have their dog have medical issues because of their weight. Leaner is better, and also, this is going to sound really bad, but like if you're overfeeding your dog, that's more money you're spending to overfeed the dog. Whereas if you are feeding them the right amount and they have a nice lean physique, you'll save yourself a dime or two. So yeah, but no, that's just some ideas for what you can do, as I said. And yes, in these foods, these table scraps that I've dished out, there's things in them that the dogs probably shouldn't eat, like a little bit of onion and stuff, but the poison is in the dosage, and I'm not worried. For the amount of onion that's across all these bowls, I'm not worried one lickety-splick, not even for the little dogs up the back. So yeah, but that's an idea on how you can stretch $1. I do know a lot of people just boil rice and potatoes and add it to them. I have done root vegetables personally. I'll do boiled vegetables in bone broth or whatever meat broth or something I've got going from butchering. That's about, I wouldn't use that for anything more than like 10 or 20% of the diet. And that's largely just if you're really, really, really stretched thin, and that's just to make the dogs feel full and satisfied. But do know that they will steadily lose weight. Like, it is not a sustainable diet to feed them boiled rice or boiled vegetables for an extended period of time. They need to have a good protein source. They need to have good calcium and mineral sources, and they need to obviously have their vitamins as well. But yeah, so that's just something, keep in mind to try out in future if you're ever stuck for $1. Doesn't matter if you got a bunch of dogs like me, or only a few, or one or two dogs, or, you might have half dozen or so. And it is becoming a bit more trendy to have 3 or 4 dogs rather than just 1 or 2 nowadays, which I'm actually quite happy to see, but that's only so long as people can afford to take care of them. People often have 1 or 2 dogs and can't afford them, so. But yeah, don't be afraid to top dress your dogs with a little bit of table scrap and stretch your $1 out a bit, and have a good one.